Today we're going to have a look at a basic 15-minute shoulder mobility routine. We'll start with some warm-ups that are great for any upper body or full body workout days, and then move into some end-range strength exercises aimed at expanding your mobility. Start with these shoulder cars, making as big a circle with your hand as you can, and limiting any additional motion throughout the spine.
We'll move right into these pull aparts, which are going to fire up the rhomboids and the trapezius, the muscles that help us retract the scapula. Then move into these shoulder dislocates. Try and keep the rib cage down and the arms as straight as possible. If you need to, you just expand your grip. And then we can do these shoulder dislocates on an angle. So take the arms to the side, bring one over the head, and then the other. Next up, we've got these straight arm pull aparts. Not a lot to explain here. Try and continue to keep the rib cage down and the core engaged. This will start to light up the rear delts and some of those auxiliary muscles in the rotator cuff.
This next setup is one of my favorite for starting to warm up the body to get into these deep rotational ranges. So we're going to make this pulling apart motion with the hands, except the grip is going to keep us from actually extending the arms. So using the triceps, we're going to try and stretch that pull as we move deep into our external and then down into our internal rotation ranges. And I love this exercise because as we're focusing on this pulling apart motion, it takes a little bit of focus off the muscles that would regularly be driving that rotation and helps us get into that deep rotational space. Next up, we have swimmers. So we're going to start with our hands behind our head, lift them back away from the skull and relax the neck as you do so, and then hold the hands back in extension as far as you can as you move through this space. So this is going to be similar to those shoulder cars we did at the beginning, but with both arms simultaneously working. And also here at the low back, let's try and keep the backs of the hands off of the low back. Now we're going to take one more rotational exercise, taking the arm back into extension. So behind the back, we're going to roll the chest away from the shoulder. Get yourself a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball or a can of soup and squeeze it just about as hard as you can as you rotate maximum, keeping the whole arm active, rotating forward and backward, and then sort of exploring that range. So we're getting as much coverage in the capsule as possible and starting to warm up that space. Go ahead and take the other side, and then we're going to move into some more strength work. This one is called the sleeper. Continue squeezing that ball if you've got it in that hand that's there on the ground. Keep the back of the armpits suction to the floor. Take it down as far as it can go. Then you're going to block the hand with the top arm and try and push up out of this position. Work your way up to maximum effort without pain, and then try and pull the hand down for what will be another 10 to 15 seconds, continuously looking for more space. Push as hard as you can as long as it doesn't hurt. Block at that new range and repeat. Do this 3 times. So 3 times pushing up, 3 times pushing down. Finish up those 3 sets, shake it off, and we will move on to external rotation. So you're going to want to block the upper arm so that the elbow is coming straight out of the shoulder, and block the fist so you're in maximum external rotation. Start by driving that fist down as if you want to get out of that rotation, working up to maximum effort. So that's turning on all the muscles in the body that you can muster. 10 to 15 seconds, and then lifting up and out of that as far as you can and holding that for 10 to 15 seconds. After you've got that new range, we're going to set up the blocks so we're working from this new height, and repeat this for 2 more sets. So that's driving down. If you don't have a ball, you can squeeze the block and lift that off. Here we're working on shoulder flexion, so we're going to get in a quadruped position, and we're going to want to drive down into that block. We're going to set up our chest so that it is parallel to the floor. So I like to cue the opposite shoulder up and the chest on the active side down.
Drive that fist, straight arm, locked out elbow, down into the block as hard as you can, 10 to 15 seconds, turning on the core and the glutes, everything you got, and then lifting up for 10 to 15 seconds. If you have blocks, you can go ahead and block that at the new height. And then we'll work on extension. So once again here, parallel chest to the floor, drive that opposite shoulder up, and the lead chest down to keep that chest parallel to the floor. Start driving the fist down into the block, 10 to 15 seconds, maximum effort, and then lifting off. And we're going to take 3 sets on each arm. And if we're using a broom handle, which I think I'm going to show you here in a moment, then it's a little bit easier to block that new height. You don't need to use a yoga block or anything like that. The key with all of these exercises is going to be getting into a somewhat neutral position, keeping the rest of the body as active as possible, and focusing on all the movement coming only from the shoulder.